The date is October 28th, 2022. The time is 6:02 p.m. I'd like to call this meeting to order. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Because tonight is a work session agenda, there's no public comment, so we're going to move right with our board presentations. We hope to keep everything brief as this is a Friday evening, but there's a lot of good items on our agenda tonight. So we're going to begin with Pete DePasquale. That is the GDP concept design study for Village Hall. And just to quickly introduce this, myself and our Board of Trustees have recognized the need to repair and restore Village Hall. But instead of just doing basic updates, we felt that we would work with a very well-established and outstanding architect in Pete to really help restore the building. And Pete will kind of tell the story behind this, but our board members had discovered a postcard from, we believe, the 1920s, which showed what the Village Hall used to look like. So we did appropriate funds in our capital budget over a 3-year period. Again, thanks to our board, Budget and Finance Committee, Village Administrator and Treasurer to identify the funding there. So without further ado, I'll turn this over to Pete, who will provide an overview of the Village Hall study.
Hi everyone, my name is Pete DePasquale, I'm an architect. Our office is called Garnett DePasquale Projects. I've been doing work in the village for about 15 years or so on modern projects and more traditional projects, most recently a historic preservation project on Cooper's Neck Lane of an Grosvenor Atterbury house, just to tell you guys who the heck I am.
We appreciate that.
We've been working with the mayor, Trustee Menger, and Aresta. We've been meeting with facility staff, village staff. We also met with the building inspector and the chief building inspector and the fire marshal. We're trying to look broadly at Village Hall in order to think about all the different issues at play and to try and put together a game plan that's sensible and makes sense. So, our goal of this study is to create a cohesive game plan to consider sort of the best use of Village Hall, issues of accessibility and convenience, for the public, public benefit, and then of course aesthetics and cost. The findings that I'll share today, they're in progress and they're preliminary in nature. The goal is to identify a number of issues and to get a sense of how the board and village wants to prioritize and think about the future of Village Hall. So we want to be collaborative with you as opposed to create an edict as to what should be done. So the question for us, since the building was built in 1911, a lot has changed around here in terms of the number of people coming in and out in high season and year round. And, we thought the best way to think about this is how can Village Hall best serve the citizens of Southampton over the next 100 years. To us, that requires updates in terms of the longevity of the building, thermal comfort, and energy use, being responsible to the environment. Opportunities to improve the public presentation of Village Hall at both the Main Street facade and potentially a new lobby or foyer, and then thinking about more public forward meeting spaces in the building. Just in terms of orientation of the plans, from left to right, we have the existing first floor, second floor, and third floor. Sort of areas that we have identified, there are a number of different areas. So we tried to look at through the lens of preservation, thinking about the Main Street facade, damage and work that needs to happen there, as well as on the south facade, the dentils up towards the top roof line. The building envelope, requires sort of a better and regular maintenance plan that includes ceiling brick and window replacement, both for safety and energy use purposes. The HVAC system throughout the building does require a significant repair and or replacement, something that could happen wholesale or happen in a phased way. In terms of comparable sort of public buildings, having a full sprinkler system is something that a modern day similar kind of building would have. And then thinking about, the third floor is actually sort of an amazing opportunity and clearly an underused space for Village Hall. And we tried to identify a couple of uses for that space in thinking about the trajectory for the building. We've also, and, I'll keep rolling forward a little bit here. So the existing front facade, clearly there's a preservation project here in terms of improving, redoing this dental work up here. Kind of all of the woodwork needs to be replaced or repaired. When we think about the future of this, we look at replacing the windows, the front door, returning the original archway window at the third floor. You can see on the lower right here is a postcard of Village Hall, and it's pretty different today than it was back then. So the idea here would be to modernize, no, not modernize, but to repair it, to make the building fresh, and to honor its history. Another thing that clearly, as we know on Main Street, there are the swaths of brick between the sidewalk and the curb, and that was all greenery. And so some thought here is to reintroduce areas of green adjacent to a new plaza out front of Village Hall to improve issues of accessibility and the ability of people to get from the parking areas up to the front door. This would include, it's not covered in this image, but thinking about improvements to the handicap accessible ramp to the south. So this, this preservation piece, I think, is a way to extend, the sort of practicality, the performance, the longevity, but also to honor the history of Village Hall. As we look around other pieces, we know that the use, the programming of the building is something that could also stand to evolve, especially in terms of the number of people that are coming in for permits in high season, how people are received, where they wait. So we're presenting the idea of expanding an entry foyer here with a real service desk that allows people to interface with the clerk and tax receiver, that some of these village functions can become more front of house, and more of the village administration and leadership could potentially be relocated elsewhere, either further back in the building or in one scenario on the third floor. In this scenario here, it's a very tough thing taking a very old building and making it modern. There are a number of really significant upgrades that are required to do that. One really exciting idea that came up in talking to all the different constituents around the building was the idea of creating a flexible public space on the third floor, which would be a tremendous gift back to the village as far as like a place for events, meetings, conferences. This idea does trigger a lot of upgrades that are required to a more modern building. It would likely mean a stairwell addition on the back. It would mean a full sprinklering of the entire building. So this really exciting opportunity to third floor would incur a sort of waterfall effect of improvements that would mean sort of addressing the building in whole all at once. The kind of, there's an open stair to the front and the fire escape in the back, both of which would need some degree of upgrade to make this kind of trajectory feasible. We looked at a couple of alternate strategies, and one other that we looked at was the potential making highest and best use of the third floor is to say, hey, maybe that can become office spaces, and that requires smaller and potentially incremental upgrades to the building while making use of the third floor as quickly as possible. And that could, be related. That could be a project unto itself in terms of upgrading the third floor. It could be tied to a project of upgrading a meeting hall or conference space on the first floor, similar to in scale and what was sort of imagined for the third. So as we think about potentials for the entry, opening that up so that it's a place for people to be received, and also have like proper security measures and thresholds so that people can only access particular parts of the village functions at the correct time. The aspiration for the third floor as a big open space is one that we're excited about. But as we mentioned, it does incur a very different scale of project. So, in some, and I'm sort of going fast because I feel like that was the tenor of things here. We've taken a look at sort of a preservation project for Village Hall. I think there's a very fundamental building envelope project that would be an important upgrade. And then the building systems, HVAC, sprinklers. And then we thought about using the third floor, which triggers a lot of life safety changes and upgrades to the building. So I would say those are the main categories: preservation projects, building envelope, HVAC upgrades, infrastructure, and then life safety and sprinklers. As far as this potential use of the third floor and the kind of project that the village wants to take on and how we can help guide you a step closer to an achievable project is a question of, is there an appetite or interest for a larger project and taking on multiple of these aspects at once? Or is it a clearer and better path for the village to break this into a number of smaller projects that can be implemented over time? Our work in that scenario would be to make sure that it's sequenced correctly, that one can happen, and accommodations are made so as not to preclude other changes down the line. I know that's a lot of stuff. I know it's a little mushy, but I think that I can imagine that every person involved with the village has a slightly different take on where to go. And so now I'm here to kind of listen and see what you make of these, these basic project approaches.
Excellent. Thank you, Pete. I have a few questions and suggestions, and then I'll turn this over to any comments from the board. If you don't mind, maybe you can put that slide back up with the facade, because that's really the most important part of the project, which is the restoration of the facade of Village Hall. So I would just suggest, we should break this down into phases. This is exactly what we were looking to do, basically bring back and restore what Village Hall used to look like. What's also important to note is there's a window on the third floor that needs to be restored as well. It's a beautiful historic window that's half circle there. So that's another important, but I just want to, obviously have this up here for people who are watching remotely and in person to see. But this can be obviously phase one. If we accomplish this, we can move to phase two, which is obviously the third floor, which I think would be an incredible open space, event space, and just gathering area for village residents to use. And then if we can get all that done, then we could obviously maybe focus on the first floor. But I think the fixing the third floor is really important. It's something that I've always wanted to do, and obviously I think the village residents would really appreciate some more green and green space, as well as a repaired Village Hall. We look back at all former boards and mayors and whatnot, and there's certain mayors and boards that had left the village with certain buildings and land acquisition, and I think this is something that we should do for the future of the village, to make sure that we have a beautiful looking Village Hall that complements our downtown. So those are my comments, but I wanted to turn this over to any board members for any questions or comments as well. Yep.
Well, it's a lovely presentation. I love the idea of going back and restoring it. So my question would be, as far as, so doing it in phases. Now, how would you break down the phases? Would, of course, the exterior would be phase one, or what do you recommend doing what in which phases?
Sure. I think, the phasing, I would say, the restoration projects are ones that can be done, and even some of the building envelope and window replacement. I think, there's aesthetic considerations,
Right.
There's longevity, and those are things that can happen while Village Hall functions, as we know today. It doesn't incur any kind of shutdown or
Right.
relocating offices.
That was one of my questions,
So you
right.
could do a lot of work, and of course, this has to have support of the people executing the work. It probably, it wouldn't, it's not as probably straightforward as I'm making it out to be, but it makes sense as a first order of project, I think, to approach the building envelope. From what I understand, and we walked the building both with facilities and a mechanical engineer that we brought in from our side. that there are a lot of HVAC upgrades that are necessary just to extend the life of the building, to make people comfortable, and to perform. I believe that kind of project would be a bit more invasive and would require, some temporary measures in terms of reorganizing things or working remotely, or hands would have to get dirty to execute that next level of work.
Right. So
Uh,
that would be along with the sprinklers. Yes?
Yeah, so the sprinklers and the idea of, and the reason we bring up the third floor is because what the third floor becomes has a major impact on the overall bones and approach of the building. If we were to say make, a large public space up there, there are many life safety measures like sprinklers down to, throughout the building.
Right.
Improving fire ratings from all the way upstairs to down below. It may call into question whether the elevator needs an upgrade or not. Certainly the systems of the elevator would be required. It gets complex with existing building code where there are things, that you're recommended to do, and then the sort of minimum one has to do. So there may be a scenario where, hey, we don't need all of the sprinklers, or hey, we don't need to replace that fire escape in the back. But the fire marshal, common sense, and other people around the village tell us otherwise, that would you want to make that investment? Effectively, the third floor to become a public space becomes a major investment in the building all at once. And if you make the third floor still a beautiful space, still have public areas up there, but a reduced occupancy, things like sprinklers and fire rating can be done in pieces over time, or in a more minimal way. We still need the support of everyone. We still need common sense, but there is a way to kind of optimize that project that makes it pretty different from the other. So in either of those scenarios, the third floor, while an amazing opportunity, is not a standalone project. It involves the greater, addition of a stair or sprinklers, or basically bringing people safely down from upstairs to all the way down. So I think, and that could be implemented as a third piece, but I think if there is a trajectory and a preference for that, that will inform some of these decisions about when you're opening up ceilings and the HVAC work and all of these other things. So I think the idea of having a basic long-term plan makes sense, and then you can implement it in pieces. If the long-term plan involves making public space on the third floor, then that almost becomes like a first project after the sort of standalone building envelope project.
Okay.
I know that's a lot.
No, I'm with you.
Okay.
With you.
As part of your engagement, putting numbers on this,
So part of our engagement is to put together a concept study that we can hand to other people to do a pricing exercise. So what we'd like to do is put this into some clear identifiable scope buckets and get feedback, because I think there's also going to be a question of what the village might be able to self-perform versus what might go out to bid, just sort of breaking that up. So we are, I would say we are going to help shepherd getting some preliminary pricing back. That's not, it's not creating a project to go out to bid, but to have some informed, some other financial consideration to help guide these decisions.
I mean, there are certain things that the building needs to have done, and just as good tenants of the building, we need to do them because it's falling apart, and we need to do it.
Yep.
And then there's the doing everything, pie in the sky, wouldn't this be great? And between them is obviously a lot of money. So, obviously it always comes down to that.
Yep.
The brick face and the front paint, the painting of the facade in the front was already approved by
In
the
the-
board in this current capital budget. So that funding is there. They were going to plan to do that work very soon. So that was, but that was already there. They had to, we have some paint issues in the front, so we have to do some prep and permitting for that.
And I think our work as part of trying to identify, let's call it chunk one, the preservation project, is what is the other sort of associated work that could be done logically along with that to see whether those projects feel appropriate to execute now or later.
So in other words, you might incorporate the back of the building at the same time when you do the front? Or you
Well, it
talking
might
about
be
the
that
exterior?
a consideration of the preservation is probably beyond the scope of maybe just the painting and wood repair, but like the steps out front, the
Right.
handicap ramp, and some of the plaza. So
Right.
I think it would be sort of capturing that scope. I think it makes sense before getting around back, probably to address the front, the dentals on the side, and then the windows around. But again, these are things that we can drop into scope buckets, get some preliminary pricing on, and to determine what the sequence is. There is some flexibility there.
I think from being in this building, I think the priorities, besides the outside that's rotting away, would be the windows. I mean, half the windows you can't even open. And I also know the window up on the 3rd floor, you need 2 people up there because the window, or that's the 2nd floor where the window actually comes out of the frame. So, and the HVAC as well. It's a big problem just trying to regulate these rooms.
Yeah, and I will say that the HVAC piece is one that is sort of like the sprinklers, potentially more invasive. So it, when you're starting to take down ceilings, it then says, okay, are you modifying walls or are you doing anything else? It's not necessarily a standalone project, but I think the work we can do is to try and just show in terms of sequence and sort of procedure how these things are connected to each other, where you can draw hard lines and where you can't.
Thank you.
Excellent. Any other comments? If not, we'll keep moving.
Yeah, we'll keep it short, but I just think it would be great if we could reconfigure this meeting room, because it's outdated, and certainly the HVAC system in here is not good. I mean, we can't run the air conditioning and have a meeting at the same time because you can't hear above the noise of the machinery. So, Charles, our
Yes,
videographer,
Charles.
is agreeing.
Yeah.
So, to me, and I understand that if we do that work, we won't be able to use this room for a period of time, and we would have to relocate our meetings elsewhere. But I do think that trying to fix up this room, specifically, so that it really is a much better place to hold business meetings and board meetings, and with appropriate HVAC systems, and again, making it more energy efficient than what we currently have, would be a huge bonus to the village.
And as an example, in renovating this room and addressing those pieces, you can do all that, get all of those returns on those improvements. And because this is already on the 1st floor and you don't have to move large groups of people throughout the building, it's much simpler in terms of the life safety implications.
And this portion, I know, is an add-on to the building. This is
Yep.
a 1-story addition that was built at some point.
Yeah, and
So-
having no space above it is actually much more forgiving
Right,
in
which
terms of
makes it
having
much-
to
much
improve
easier,
it.
exactly.
You're closer to grade and exits. The fire marshal did mention that the swinging of doors here, there are improvements that can happen, but they're relatively small in scale.
Right.
It's contained as a project, I
Right,
would say.
but so when you do these estimates, if you will, if there's a way to sort of break out what it would be to reconfigure our main boardroom here, and, as this is an isolated component, I think that would be helpful as well.
And also perhaps to include the space next door, as we had
Well, no,
discussed.
because it would reconfigure this room. If you go back, I don't know if we want to go back to it now, but anyway, it would reconfigure this whole sort of rear of the building.
Right.
That's right.
As we had
That's right. I
discussed.
think there's-
Which
there-
would be a huge improvement, though.
And again, you can grow this space without all of those other complex triggers.
Yeah. So that's my only point.
Yep.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Pete.
right,
This
thank
is
you.
a work in progress. We're looking forward to seeing next steps, but thank you very much for coming out tonight and the great rendering, so thank you.
Yeah, thank you all.
Thanks,
Have a
nice
good
to see you.
All right, we will keep moving. Charles, is there a East End Financial Group or Frank Fish in the waiting room? Okay.
Who are you saying yes to, Charles?
Frank.
Okay, I think maybe, would you mind moving Frank up, just because I?
Yeah, we're going to go
Okay,
Frank now.
okay,
So
okay.
I'll make a quick introduction. So Frank Fish is one of our planners. He's from BFJ Planning, and he actually was responsible with his team for our comprehensive master plan. And as part of the comprehensive master plan, we spoke about an arts and culture overlay district. This was in part to basically encompass a lot of the arts and culture that we have coming into the village, and in addition, to look out for important buildings in the general area, including the movie theater, to encourage arts and culture institutions to stay within the village, and then basically expand arts and culture throughout essentially the west side and other parts of the village. So we'll turn this over to Frank. He'll talk about the zoning, proposed zoning changes and the study that he's doing as an extension of our comprehensive master plan. So Frank, if you're there, you can take it away.
Trying to get him to come in. But
Okay.
there's other people, Noah Levine.
Yeah, Noah can come in. He's part of BFJ.
Okay.
Charles, yeah.
And for those who are waiting, we'll keep the East End Financial Group, try to keep them brief, and then we have 2 public hearings, one for trees and one for Elm Street. Depending on how people are doing on time, we can move those around, but we'll see if Mike and you can let us know how you're doing on time too, and Laura, keep us posted. Okay, who do we have here?
Hi, this is Anne Marie Solnicki from East End Financial Group.
Hold
We've been
on.
waiting since 6 to come on, so, I don't know, are you ready for us?
Can we not get Noah in?
I'm trying to get him.
All right, maybe.
Sorry, Mayor, this is Noah, I'm on. I'm just, I don't have my video on because I'm with my child. Unfortunately, I'm on solo dad duty, so if it's okay, I'm just gonna be cutting it out.
It's okay. Noah, if you can actually maybe give us 5 minutes, we've got the East End Financial Group
course.
here.
Of course, yeah, we'll wait. No
And
problem.
then see if Frank would be able to log on visually as well.
Okay.
All right, and-
Jeff Connolly from the office is also trying to be approved to come in.
Okay.
And if you and Jeff could keep this maybe limited to 5 minutes, that would be a big help
No
because
problem.
we have a lot to get to and it's a Friday night, so thank
No
you.
problem at all. We just have to let Jeff in, he's in now, okay? Jeff, we're trying to limit it to 5 minutes.
Oh, that's Frank. Okay, perfect.
Sure, we can
We
just
got
skip
Frank, we got
items
everybody
and move very quickly through that presentation.
Okay.
So if you guys are ready, if I could share my screen.
Thank you.
We're gonna go through the presentation that says annual review prepared for Village of Southampton Fire Department Life Service Award. If you have any questions, feel free to stop me and jump in. And once again, Emery and I are with East End Financial Group, and we are the investment manager for the fire department's LoSAP. We work very closely with Tenflex, which is the plan administrator, but we handle just the investment side of things. So I'll just summarize where the plan was at the beginning of this year. So the village's LoSAP portfolio had a total return over 7.5% in 2021. The assumed rate of return is 5%, and the funded ratio increased to 99% as of January 1st, 2022, up from 94% the prior year. And the funded ratio was 66% on January 1st, 2018, which is when we started working with the village on the LoSAP investments back in the middle of 2018. So the bottom line and key takeaway is that the plan's really made a lot of progress over the last couple of years, and it's in great shape with a funded ratio close to 99%, right under 100% at the beginning of this year. As you all know, it's been a very difficult year for both stocks and bonds, all investments in general. So the total account balance as of September 30th, $4,890,000, and the portfolio's had a year-to-date loss of 16.5%. Over the same period, the S&P 500 index is down 24%, and the aggregate bond index is off almost 15%. You can see in the table there, the 2 Pershing accounts. That's where the accounts are held at the custodian, Pershing Bank of New York Mellon. You can see each account value, the year-to-date return, the returns for the prior year. When we look at the LoSAP's performance, it's a blend of 50% stocks, 50% bonds. And if we compare that to the benchmark S&P 500 index and aggregate bond index, it's performed a little bit better, down 16.5 versus the indexes blended at 50-50 would be down 19.25. So, while we're not happy with the performance, we know that the goal is to consistently get that 5% rate of return. This has been an exceptionally difficult year for markets with almost every asset class losing money so far this year. And the relative performance is holding up a little bit better in the broader market. So that's what's happened so far year to date. I'll skip ahead a little bit and just talk about where we are now and our plan for the rest of the year. So like I mentioned, the portfolio is a blend of 50% stocks, 50% bonds, and that's a guideline by the village board. It has our investment policy statement. East End Finance Group has discretion to choose the investments, but we have to work within the range that the village board gives us, which lets us go up to 50% stocks or down to 40% stocks based on our outlook for the economy, markets, and a number of other things. Right now, the asset allocation is 49% stocks, 51% bonds. I'll move through the rest of the portfolio observations and just jump to our action plan. So, our outlook is that we're going to see continued volatility in the stock market for the next 6 to 12 months. The economy is probably in recession. We're going to be in recession relatively soon, and there are a lot of headwinds. We continue to look for signs to add to more equities, but we're probably not there yet. The real opportunity is on the fixed income side. So while the increase in yields has really hurt returns this year, half the portfolio is allocated to bonds, and we're able to now buy bonds with yields that exceed 5%. So half the portfolio can now buy conservative investment-grade bonds that are generating a yield above that assumed rate of return of 5%. So it's challenging in the short term, but going forward, higher interest rates are a benefit for the LoSAP plan as well as all other defined benefit pension plans. So I'll pause there and happy to answer any questions on the portfolio, how it's invested, or the returns, or anything that I touched on. If not, I'll just ask Anne-Marie if she can hit on our scholarship that we'll send over the application for this in the next couple of weeks.
Certainly. So East End, we're in our 8th year of offering a scholarship to all of the LoSAP plans that we work with, whether they be funded by a village or on a district level. And everybody that submits an application to our office, each district gets to choose their own student from their high school. Everyone gets something, starting with $1,000 on down. We have not received in the last couple of years an application from Village of Southampton, and we'd love to see a student win some more, as I said, they're definitely guaranteed a scholarship. So we will be sending a package out to you. It's something we've designed to give back to the community over the last 8 years and to really work closely with the fire districts and the fire departments, that we work with and try to give something back to the community.
All right, and we'll work with Charlene to get that in front of the scholarship committee at the department, because we do know that oftentimes there's a lot of different people involved, but like Anne-Marie mentioned, would love for you guys to submit an applicant for that. So that's all we have for the prepared presentation. Happy to cover anything that we discussed or take any questions from the board.
We did send this PDF over, so again, if you have any questions after the meeting that come forth, you can email Jeff or myself and we'll respond.
All right, thank you very much. We really appreciate it.
Great. Thank you guys for your time.
Thank you. So we'll move on with our third discussion item tonight. This again is Frank Fish and Noah Levine from BFJ Planning regarding the Arts and Culture Overlay District.
Frank, we can't hear you.
Yep.
There you are.
I can probably maybe give a quick overview of sort of the 6 points, and then as there's questions, Noah's on the line.
Yeah, I'm on.
Go into more detail, but I think you've all got the memo that Noah sent. There
Yep.
was some slight changes made to it, and but the basic organization of the 6 sort of recommendations remain the same. So what they are is to, and I think the genesis of this, as you know, is this is the first recommendation that we've been asked to follow up on zoning with that was made in the comprehensive plan that you adopted last month. And so we're asked to come up with a zoning memo outlining the idea of an arts and cultural district, which was recommended in the comprehensive plan. So, as you know from the memo, we've sort of done this by an overlay district, and you have that map of the overlay district. It's basically within the village business district, and for properties, on, basically Hill Street and also Jobs Lane, and then a very small piece on the west side of South Main Street, south of Jobs Lane. So that's the overall map and designation, and we can come back and discuss that as you have any changes. But The second idea here is to have a potential reduction in building height from 35 feet to 30 feet for properties along Job's Lane between Windmill and South Main. And then a third, and this is a kind of, I think, critical one that NOAA did a whole survey of lot sizes and basically what are tenant sizes. We think that a maximum size for retail commercial properties for a tenant in the overlay could be 5,000 square feet. We've done work in other villages which have picked something similar. In Bronxville, they have New York, where we've done a lot of work. They've used 3,500 square feet and then with a special permit to 5,000. But you do have a few parcels over 5,000 or tenants over 5,000, but they are already arts users. So this will apply only to commercial rather than arts facilities. So we suggest the 5,000 because NOAA survey, it does indicate that everyone can fit into that, the commercial uses on the ground floor now. But this would prohibit, for instance, someone going into the theater that was a pure retail use or a big box use that was over 5,000 square feet. And by definition, you wouldn't get a big box then because they're all, in the 15, 20,000 area. And then the fourth dot point is just to offer a definition of arts and cultural uses, which we put in the memo and listed what those uses might be. And those are galleries, museums, performance space, offices and studios for the arts facilities, and then schools for teaching arts and culture. So those could all be put into a definition. And then the fifth dot point is just a temporary arts use designation. In other words, you've got vacant spaces. If you had vacant spaces in the ground level, you've got a program now that you use that, the storefront art project that puts, displays into the stores. So that's something that the overlay district could encourage. It might be formalized into provisions for the overlay district. And then finally, to just add, although you do allow residential on the second floor, for instance, to make it clear that artists' live workspace above the ground level would also be allowed by special permit. So those are overall the six points that we suggested in an overlay district, and we saw tonight as the first meeting with you all to discuss these, to see if we're on the right, the right course with this, and get any input from you. And then based on this, we would actually draft, a second draft, an actual, zoning draft for discussion with you at a future date. So with that, Noah, do you want to go into any further detail, or do you want to?
Yeah, there was just one small minor point that I'm sure will come up, so I just wanted to kind of preemptively address it. In the comprehensive plan, we talked about the need for the arts and cultural district, and there are different things that could mean. We are approaching this from a zoning kind of perspective, but there are other uses and other historic places that could be outside of the map that we've identified. And those could be identified in an arts and cultural district that you might use for marketing and wayfinding purposes that could be bigger than the map that we've identified. The map here is purely for zoning purposes only. I just want to make that clear. There could be a larger district that could be this district plus other properties, but this is just for zoning. That's all.
Yeah, no, good point. I mean, the point of this district partly is to make sure that existing art facilities remain, and such as the theater, and are not just replaced. And one way to do that is with a pure zoning overlay. So that's what this district was about.
And I think it's important to point out that the areas we're talking about here are all zoned currently as village business. So it's only affecting Village Business District as we know it today.
I think the one exception to that, and we can take it out, is just the community center on Pond Lane. And so, I don't think the village business.
Oh, that's the cultural
Cultural center. Well, it could
Oh,
be
sorry, excuse me,
Veterans Hall.
cultural center, yep.
Yeah, but, well, I think we do want to include that. I didn't realize that was outside of Village Business, but I think
And
that's very important, and the
And
Veterans
Veterans
Hall to
Hall.
include those in the district, because they're contiguous.
And that's the one exception, Bill, that's in
Okay,
our.
thank you for pointing that out. Yeah, I wasn't aware of that. But I think, Frank, you've done an excellent job. You and Noah, I really appreciate this. I think, again, it's followed along very nicely from the comprehensive plan, and it takes into account what we're trying to do in this part of the village. So again, I think it's excellent, and I applaud you and look forward to working with you and moving forward.
I just had one quick question. I'm been spending a lot of my time getting involved with the creation of the sewer district, and one of the reasons for doing that, of course, is at the present time, due to the sanitary restrictions, none of the buildings in the village could even be considered to put apartments on the second floor, or conversions of office spaces that are no longer being used into apartments because there's no place to do the sanitary stuff. But is it my understanding that the arts overlay would require that those residences, if they are converted, are only occupied by artists, or can anybody occupy them?
Well, currently, you do allow second floor residential use. What we're suggesting is to allow it specifically also for artists live work space, so that you can combine the two. But we would do that by special permit. So Roy, that special permit's gonna be able to obviously look at, you would look at sewer in any case, but the special permit gives you a little bit more specific control over that, and one of them would be sewer. If there's not sewer capacity, then they would not be able to get the special permit.
But if you are able to get residential conversion onto second floor, you're telling me that you could only rent it to people who are involved with the arts? I would not be for that in any way, shape, or form. I think you have to let people rent to who they want to rent to.
And I think we can, by the way, and we might not have been clear on this. Our understanding is you can now rent something on the second floor to, for a residence. We're just expanding that to include an artist's residence and workspace for the artist. We're just expanding the choice,
Okay.
and that's all we're doing.
It would
it's
allow
just-
them to work
Work
in
where
the
they live.
apartment on the second floor as well,
Got it.
as
Okay.
just
So
habitate
it's in
there.
addition to, it's not
Correct.
limiting.
Yeah.
Correct.
In addition to
It would be
yeah,
someone who wanted to have a studio in their apartment.
Got it.
That would be allowed.
Where I'm coming from is the whole idea is
No,
that
I
we
get it.
want to have workforce housing,
Yeah.
but we need to have workers besides artists.
Yeah, yes, yes.
And we also have a resolution that we're going to walk on at the end of the meeting, asking our Director of Planning to explore the Long Island workforce housing and the Village Office District and Hampton Road Office District, which is in our comprehensive master plan, to expand, workforce housing that's already in our code. So that's another resolution for further study as well.
Okay.
Are there any other comments from the board?
No.
The only thing I will add, Frank and Noah, thank you. I think we're off to a good start here. For me, the most important portion of this overlay district is the maximum size for retail of 5,000 square feet outside of arts and culture. Clearly, in Southampton Village, obviously this board does not want to see big box retailers. It's definitely not in the fabric. And if the buildings are going to be of a larger size, we want those buildings to be arts and culture institutions. Again, not big box retailers, which should maybe potentially find some other areas outside of this particular district. So I think that's critical. Love the definition of arts and culture. I like the expansion of the live workspace. The temporary arts use designation, also good. I would like to do a little further study on the reduction of the height on Job's Lane and get some input from some of the landlords there. Would like to just get some more feedback there, and then would also I think some further study would be required on the map. I think some input would be helpful as well. Obviously, this is going to be a good overlay district, but want to make sure we've got the right map in place as well. But the zoning, of course, is a really important local tool of any local municipality, and thanks to the good work of the steering committee, your team, and this board of trustees, we now have a really good roadmap with our comprehensive master plan, and this is just one of many items that we'd like to implement. So thank you very much, everybody.
I would just say that the height restriction was included to keep the pedestrian-friendly atmosphere on Job's Lane. Most of those buildings are not over 30 feet. In fact, I think it would be great if Noah or somebody in your office, Frank, could actually look at the height of the existing buildings so that we'd have a reference point. But I think you'll find that most of those buildings are not in excess of 30 feet, and I think we want to keep that smaller, lower scale on a narrow street such as Job's Lane because, again, of its pedestrian-friendly nature. It seems in keeping with the way that road has developed over hundreds of years.
Yeah, I think we can take a look, Noah, on Google Earth and the other programs we have.
Yeah, we can look, and I can certainly touch base with Alex and the building department to see what information we can get from the village on that.
That'd be great. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, we'll keep on moving. We have 2 public hearings tonight. Would it be okay, Laura, if do you have time to switch the public hearings and have the Elm Street public hearing first? Because there's a number of residents here. You have to go? Okay. Laura's the boss tonight. I'm sorry, I see a lot of residents on Elm Street. So with that being said, Frank and Noah, thank you very much for the good work. We'll move forward with the public hearing portions of our meeting, and CMAC, I see you as well, so I can add you onto the agenda. So I'll make a motion to open public hearing number 1 tonight regarding local law 14-2022, the proposal to amend Village Code Chapter 107 trees, with the second public hearing scheduled for November 10th, 2022, and resolution for approval. And thank you, Christian. Thank you, Michael. Thank you, Laura. Just to give this a quick introduction before Christian comes up from our Planning Commission, we had asked our Planning Commission, who's done a great job, to explore what steps that we need to take in order to become a Tree City USA, as trees are an important asset in the village of Southampton. And I'll let Christian take it from here and explain what we're working on. And thank you again.
Thank you, Mayor Warren, and good evening, everybody. And I guess a public hearing on a Friday night in the village is not as popular as a public hearing on a Tuesday night in the town, so I understand that. My name is Christian Pico, and I'm a member of the Planning Commission. Just a quick reminder for trustees and members of the public that the Planning Commission is there for the promotion of public health, safety, and general welfare, as it's coded in its Chapter 20 that drives the efforts of the Planning Commission, and also to support the comprehensive master plan. So to talk about trees as an asset class, the idea behind it was to promote a framework for policies, procedures, and process for the management of trees. The effort is there to evolve towards a proactive program. We've had a great group in Parks and DPW, and we want to leverage their knowledge and experience. We worked as a task force with the public at the Public Commission. We had Laura Davini, Mike Anderson, and Mike Lieberman that worked with me on this. We got great cooperation and work from our village planner, Alex Wallach. It was very helpful. And all the trustees were particularly interested in this project, so I want to thank you for the time that you all spent on it. We have some slides that were put in the packet, so it's going to save us some time, because if there are any questions on these slides, I'll be happy to answer them, but I'm not going to go through them, just for the brevity of the exercise this evening. Tree City requirements. The key are in the packet of slides, but there are four basic ones. One is a budget, one which we exceed, which is only $2 per resident, and we spend more than $38,000 as a budget at minimum on trees. The other one is to have a tree commission. The other one is to have the other one is to have. So I'm blanking out on that. I'll just quickly go through it. Sorry, an Arbor Day, which we have in the village done already twice. That's usually at the end of October. And so these are those are the main items, and also, a tree ordinance. So that's what we're working on for you to consider tonight and hear the public's opinion on what we're proposing. But the keys to the codes are as follows. One, we want to establish a tree committee, mainly 3 members, including 2 village residents who would need to be well versed on trees, who can be helpful to develop a village tree management plan, also help to designate public heritage trees, and organize some tree planting project in and around Arbor Day. It gives authority to a village arborist, which we actually have in the village, requiring permitting if a resident needs to have a public tree removed, and finally, the protection of municipal trees during construction. One of the items that we found particularly interesting to insert in section 107.9 was the fact that the fiscal code allows the public to donate money to the village for a tree and get basically a tax deduction. And we found that very interesting because if on your right of way in front of your property you'd like to have a tree, maybe a little better than the usual Southampton Village Charlie Brown tree that's planted that's just 2-inch caliper, you can donate money to the village, get a letter back, which will be your tax deduction you could apply, and put a bigger, nicer tree that you want in front of your property. Or if you want to donate, as opposed to donating a bench, but a tree, with a purpose of donation marked at the bottom of the tree, you can do that and benefit from that advantage fiscally, and certainly would welcome residents to think about that throughout. So that's all I have, and happy to take questions from the public. The 107 revision was in your packet, I guess, last meeting a couple of weeks ago, and the slides are in this packet this week. So I'll leave it for the public to have any comments or questions.
Thank you, Christian. Really appreciate your work on this.
Can I just say something?
Please, thank you, Laura.
Yeah, we worked hard on this and think the value for the village is incredible if we get a Tree City designation. There was one thing in the rewrite. We submitted our ideas for ordinance to the board, to the trustees, and they came back with a rewrite. Now, there is one section that I wanted to bring to your attention in the rewrite, which is in our original submission during construction, we allowed a 30-foot perimeter during construction for trees. Elsewhere in the code as it exists under construction, that is reiterated at 30 feet. The rewrite, you changed our 30 to 20, so it doesn't correlate to the other section of the code that specifies 30 feet. I thought that maybe you wanted to revisit that so that there's no confusion when somebody is constructing something, that they know this is what it is. The other thing is the size that you asked for, 3 people, and we had recommended 5. I noticed that in a lot of the committees listed in the village that there are more than 3 people on a committee. And I would just like you to reconsider that number. Because I think 5 is a better number. On another note, and just for your edification, I don't know if you've all seen the exhibit at the Southampton Arts Center on trees.
Yes, beautiful.
It's wonderful. And if anybody is a reader, anybody likes to read, this book is very helpful. It's called The Hidden Life of Trees. And then we have The Invention of Nature. All of this is good. Where we are now with the planet the way it is and where it's going, and we all need to reconnect. So that's all. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Laura. And I will just add that I don't see why that wouldn't be an issue as far as the size of the committee is, and so that's something we could always make an amendment. We're not going to vote on this tonight. We'll vote on this November 10th. So we could always offer an amendment. And then, Andrew, if you don't mind just having a quick look at the legislation about the 20 to 30 foot change, we can definitely look into those 2 things. So thank you very much.
I will, Mayor.
Appreciate it. Okay, is there any other comments from the public? Okay, if not, I'll make a motion to adjourn the hearing to November 10th, 2022. Is there a second?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, I'll now make a motion to open our second public hearing of the night, which is a public hearing regarding local law 21-2022, the proposal to amend Village Code, Chapter 110, Section 110-43, Schedule L, stopping, standing, and parking restrictions specifically on Elm Street. Is there a second?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
So I think I will, I'll turn this over. Andrew, could you maybe just explain this, and then we can turn this over to public comment.
Sure, ma'am. This local law relates to parking on Elm Street. On Elm Street, the west side from Powell to Lady will be no stopping, no standing, no parking. On the east side of Elm Street, from Powell to Pulaski Street, it would be no parking only. And the stricken language results in the remainder of Elm Street having no parking regulations.
Thank you very much. So we'll call everybody, if by show of hands, you can come up. You can state your name for the record, and then there's 3 minutes to speak. And I will just remind the public here that we're trying to do a service to the public, and so you can tell us what you like and don't like about this, and we could always change it. So anyone who'd like to come up, feel free.
Could we just get a clarification?
Sure, and you can come up if you'd like.
Yeah, you have to come up.
Excuse me. Okay, no, just
Sorry to put you on the spot.
No worries.
Yes.
Janina Castro, Elm Street.
Yes.
Just a quick clarification. So there was language including the no parking on Elm Street throughout the entire Elm Street, and now that has been struck out?
It's been struck out south of Pulaski on the east side and Layton on the west side.
Okay. I need a map.
Um,
Pardon.
Yeah,
But
so
that's
it's-
fine.
it's
I will go
south of
back to
the-
my seat
it's
and make some
south of
notes.
the commercial ventures that are
Okay.
on the east side.
Okay.
And then
And
no
then-
restrictions.
So that's now been struck out.
That's correct.
It would be free parking all the
Great,
time.
just
Do you like
because-
free parking all the time?
Absolutely. I was just
Okay,
worried
that's
with
good.
the
I just wanna
signs
make
there.
sure
Just
we
wanted
were-
to make sure
I wanted
they
to
were
make sure we were
amending
we were
things.
doing the right thing.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Excuse
No,
me.
it's
Thank
only
you for your
no
time.
parking to remain up where the
Great.
commercial ventures are, and then on the west side, from Layton Avenue up to Railroad Plaza,
Great.
would be the no stopping, standing, or parking.
Okay.
Yeah,
Thank you.
yeah,
Thank you.
sir.
We can put a map up. I can ask Charles if you do. Okay.
She's new to the neighborhood. My name is Mike Famiglietti. I live on Elm Street. So when you say there's parking allowed on the south side,
Yes.
is that 24 hours a day? I could park there, leave my car there overnight
Yes.
indefinitely?
Yes, you can.
That's what we were suggesting. Yes.
Okay.
Are you okay with that? Or?
I'm okay with that, yes.
Okay. Yes.
right.
If you had a guest coming who was going to spend the night at your place, they would be
And that's
able.
better than what it was.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, all right. As long as we're making improvements, this is a good.
Yeah, that was an improvement. Okay, very good. Thank you.
Yes.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Michael. Again, this is, we're here to work for you guys, so you can tell us exactly what you like, and that's what we're here for. So is the best thing is when the village residents unanimously agree. Sometimes there's disagreements on a street, so that sometimes creates some issues, but if everyone's on the same page, this is good.
How about
Jay, I see you. Any,
Jay,
any
in your
comments?
side of the audience here, do you have any comments?
No.
Is this finally, getting to what you were hoping we would get to?
If it keeps going this way, I'm fine.
Okay. This is good. It seems like everyone's in agreement here now.
Okay, good.
Okay. Barbara?
I wish not to be sued.
Just quick question. Janina Castro again. If there happens to be any issues because of the commercial activity and there is overflow, is it something we could address in the future to perhaps address, no parking from 12 a.m. if there's an issue?
Absolutely,
Okay.
absolutely. Yeah,
Thank you.
yeah.
Basically, the process works. In order to amend a local law, we notice it out to our paper of record. We have a certain number of days. Then we could have a public hearing. We close the public hearing, vote on it, and then the law is enacted. So there's about a 2 to 3 week window, sometimes 4, but that's the time frame. Okay. So unless there's any of the comments from the board, I'll make a motion to close the public hearing.
No, I think we finally got to where we want to be.
Okay, good
yeah.
job, everybody. Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I'm so sorry. There's just some discussion here. You go ask. I don't want to ask anything.
You're welcome to come up and,
There's someone else coming in at a moment that may have.
You have to go to the mic.
all right, when that person comes in, we'll allow them to make a public comment, maybe at the end of the meeting. It won't specifically be related to this public hearing, but they can.
That's what it's about.
Right, we'll be able to take that into consideration.
Okay. The question that she has is.
Not me.
The question is, parking on the east side or the west side is allowed?
It's it's all non-restricted.
Restricted.
It's open, free parking, east and west.
And west.
Again, from Pulaski Street on the east and Layton Avenue on the west.
Oh, so
It's
it's all
all
right, so
free
it's
parking on both
North
sides.
of Pulaski would be the restrictions.
Correct.
So anything south of
Is
Pulaski
free.
is open.
No restrictions.
Okay.
Is that what you?
No, that's fine, as long
Okay.
as nobody leaves there, an abandoned car there for.
No, you can't abandon cars on the street. Yeah, no.
Okay, that's fine.
But it's both sides of the street are treated equally.
It's better than it's
Again,
been.
okay.
Very good, thank you.
This is a copy of the proposed local law. Maybe I'll pass this down and you can have a look at this too, Michael, if you'd like. Okay, so we'll keep on moving. What I'd like to do is, we've got a communication to the board, which is in our packet. There's 2 discussion items, but I actually want to add a 3rd discussion item, and that third, if that's okay, is CMAC. I think we spoke about this. So maybe CMAC, would you like to come up and, is this okay with everybody?
I don't know what
We don't know what he's talking
It's
about.
about the, in addition to the Art Center and the Peter Marino Foundation. We spoke
Oh,
about
yes,
this
yes,
briefly.
yes,
So,
yes, yes.
Simek, if you don't mind, obviously the briefer the better, just because, again, we're here on the Friday night.
I have some points that you want to pass on. Is there a possibility to put a camera on this or not?
No.
No, okay, then this is the fifth.
All right, thank you.
Good evening, board members. CMX Sami, Southampton Art Center board member, founder, and also citizen, village of Southampton. I was here last in front of you about 3 years ago, right before COVID, with this presentation for brick walks as part of the pedestrian infrastructure in the village. These were all approved at the time. There were many different components to it. What you see in front of you actually is the east grounds of the Southampton Art Center extending all the way to Main Street. You see numbered items over there, about I think 5 items on that. We basically implemented 4 of those. At the time, 3 years ago when we came in front of you, item number, I think it's number 4, the walk from the back of the village hall to the east entrance of the Southampton Art Center was the portion that the village basically agreed to undertake as far as paving that walkway. So just to give you a little background on this thing, this project started many years back. Basically its initiative was when the library moved to the other side of the village, and then the post office moved, and we basically focused on, as part of the planning commission, improving the pedestrian infrastructure in the village. And one of the first acts of that was improvement of the walk behind the Southampton Historical Museum, right where the San Ambrose restaurant is, to Main Street. We extended that on this side, right next to the village hall, from Main Street to the parking in the back. We introduced the stair going from Job's Lane to the grounds of the Southampton Arts Center. We did the Caesars paving. Merino Foundation undertook their share as far as their front courtyard. So basically this infrastructure has all been built, with the exception of one key element of it, which is right from the rear entrance of the Southampton Village Hall to Southampton Arts Center. And I'm here. I've gotten also bids for these jobs. I don't know how the village would, usually in some cases the village would undertake these things in-house. In this case, there are also cases where we did it. We went outside vendors. I have numbers here too. This is basically a $60,000, $61,000, the two bids that came in for these brick walks. And this is that portion of it that extends and connects the two ends that have been built, but this portion of it is missing. And we have this window of doing this work before winter comes, so that next fall we'll have a complete pedestrian infrastructure in the village.
Where exactly are you talking about? Number 5? Because this has been done. This has been done.
Correct.
So it's number 5.
Number 5,
Oh, I
exactly.
remember when we were talking about this 3 years ago.
Correct.
All right, well, I mean, I'm seeing this for the first time tonight,
Sure,
so
sure.
I'm going to have some time to review this.
Absolutely,
I
absolutely.
can't like make a decision right this second.
Absolutely. Yeah.
What is in the parking lot coming out of Village Hall? Is that just paint on the street, or is that meant to be like a insert into the asphalt?
There was different options discussed at the time with Gary Gillespie. One of them was that the least expensive would be do a concrete walk with imprints stamped onto it. The other one would be a brick paver walking across that. But we never made a final decision on that. But we did, as part of this proposal, are extending the length of a car into that parking for 2 parking spots, so that it would reduce this, if you want to call it the zebra walk, from the village hall to the other side, from what it is to basically a 50% reduction of that width.
And your
It is.
darker green space, that's an addition that would be new?
That's already basically
That's been
finished, done.
Ah, okay.
Yes.
Also, thanks to your work, we were able to have additional greenery and plantings added at the
Correct.
Peter Marino Foundation closer to Village Hall, so that
And-
looks excellent.
And just to bring a point here, Peter's building, since at the end of the parking, a lot of the public, when they want to go and cut through the side streets, they go down at that end, and then they try to go through the Marino Foundation walks, which is a private walk. And originally this was all in the open because the deer was eating all his roses. He put a gate around that.
Yeah.
And basically that's not accessible. So he constantly, one of the issues that he has is that people go there and then try to open up the gate, and then they come in there and then they're locked in that enclosed space, and they have to walk them out again. So this is a recurring constant issue with his thing. And he keeps coming back to me is that, when are you guys going to do your walk? So I know that Peter has done a lot as far as improving his property for the village, public spots. This would be something that we could improve his situation in that scenario, of course.
All right. Any
Thank
other
you.
questions
Thank you.
from the board?
No, I just have to
Okay.
take this in. This is
And I don't know if you want any of the proposals that was that I got from vendors, if that's something that.
Sure, that would be a help. Maybe
Sure.
you can give that to Charlene if that's all right.
Sure.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Sam.
I'm
Thanks
sure
for
it'll be
coming
a
in.
beautiful addition as well, so thanks again.
And just one last thing is that we are. This is not a project that ends here. We're basically on a regular basis constantly looking at different venues, how to improve pedestrian infrastructure in the village. We've made great strides in this process. And as you know, last time we were discussing this thing was further down towards the Ag 1 Park and so forth. And this is a continuing process all along the village. It's improving us. I mean, based on when I first came to this village about 27, 8 years ago, we did not have any of this pedestrian infrastructure. We've made strides in this. So pat ourselves.
Thank you for your help too.
Thank you.
All right, so we appreciate your help. We'll keep this moving. There's 2 additional discussion items. The next one is a narrow lane, double yellow lines. It's a correspondence submitted by Franklin Trent, Director of School Safety, Southampton Public Schools. In our packet, just wanted to thank our village clerk, Kathy Sweeney, for her correspondence with Mr. Trent regarding a double yellow line, which hopefully will help improve safety. So thank you to Franklin and Kathy and everyone involved. So I don't know if there's any other discussion there, but we'll keep it moving. The next
No,
item,
I think one thing I wanted to add.
We should talk about that.
Okay.
Yeah.
That I think it's very much needed on narrow lane. I walk that road all the time. It's very wide. There's U-turns being made constantly on that road, and it's like they drag race on that street.
Yeah,
So,
I think we should also consider maybe putting in shoulder lines so that again it narrows the lanes that people are driving in, because it's been shown that again subliminally people drive slower if the road is less wide. So if you have the double yellow lines, I think we should also put a white shoulder line to the side so it guides people where they're supposed to be on the street.
and that was also recommended in
By our traffic consultants, yeah.
Traffic consultant.
What about a bike lane? As opposed to just a
Then it
one?
would take it. I think they said that would be a little bit less, make it even more narrow. The road.
Yeah.
If we put
I don't know, but I
the
mean,
shoulder, they didn't.
We
really,
can certainly,
we could
we can
review
look at
this
that too though,
again.
Roy, yeah. I
We
mean,
could look at that, but I think it's, I'd like to see the double line go as soon as possible. It's, another situation with U-turns, big time, and speeding. So if there's a line there or make the road a little bit narrow, I
So
don't think
there's
they'll look at it as they
So
would be
it-
drag racing down there,
There's no
so.
code or anything we have to do for that.
No, not with
There's no,
double
there's no
line.
resolution or
Board
local law.
directive?
No.
It can be if the board is so inclined, it can be a referral to a department head.
Right,
Mhm.
would be the referral to DPW.
To DPW.
So I can inform them that
Yes.
in their striping plan that they would just stripe that road.
Right. Right now it's striped, but only on the corner of Hampton Road. And,
Right.
Because we looked at the Google map the other day as well, so that just to continue it all the way down to Wickapog. Wickapog, right?
That's easy.
So we could do a double yellow line is what you're proposing.
Yes.
And then we can also review the bicycle lane.
Yes, but for right now, we can get that line
Right.
down, that's gonna help a lot, and then
Okay.
we can move ahead with looking at the shoulder and or bike lane.
Okay, great.
all right, excellent, good work, everyone. Glad we have consensus there. I think this will help public safety, particularly around our schools and local residences. So we'll keep on moving. I think, Gina, you've got the next discussion item, that's the Halloween
Festivities. So big day tomorrow, Little Lucy's Parade, the Halloween pet parade, 1 o'clock. So pets and adults, and pets and humans, I should say, alike, can dress up and parade around town. That's one of my favorite events. The other thing is Elm Street, you'll see a resolution on later as well. If anybody stays for the resolutions, Elm Street will be closed on Monday, Halloween, between 3 and 7. Okay,
Thank you.
you're welcome.
The only thing I'll add to this discussion item is I would like to, step up some of the recreational activities, especially for some of the younger students in the elementary school and really all ages. And we have a parks department, but we don't have a parks and recreation department. So I would like, if the board would approve it, to create almost a recreational committee or task force. We'll call it any volunteers, but particularly some moms who've got their kids at school. This is so we can have a group together that will help us step up our fun and recreation in the village. In the case, for example, we typically rely on the Chamber of Commerce to do the Ragamuffin Parade, but if they're not able to get that done, I'd like to have a backup plan, which I'll call the Fun and Recreation Task Force, to make sure that they can do that. I have a few people that have already offered to volunteer their time and services. We're talking about things like a Easter egg hunt over the holidays this spring, and other just fun activities so that they can meet. The other thing I'd like to suggest while we're on this topic is I think that we should get together with the Chamber of Commerce, and we should request that either one or two board members will essentially become liaisons or ex officio board members to the Chamber, so the village could have a little more impact over what the Chamber of Commerce does. I think it's important. The village does own the building, and so because of that, I think that we should have a little more say over what goes on in the Chamber. We'd like to encourage them and maybe even give some guidance to and work collaboratively with them so that when there is a time and we need some other fun activities, I think that's important. So I just don't know if anyone has any additional comments about that, but I'd love to.
Well, we have to also be careful because the chamber does run certain programs. The school has certain programs that they run and festivities that they run, and I really want to be stepping on their feet or encroaching on their space. But I think a little better communication would be very helpful. I don't know if it's in our purview to take festivities over, but if there's perhaps a coordinator to help see what everyone is doing, because there are a lot of different people and groups that do certain activities, I think, right now, and I wouldn't want to take that away from the chamber or take it away from the school. Or I just, we could discuss a little further how you'd want that set up. Liaison or ex officio, you said in a committee or something like that would be nice, just to keep the communication open. Or maybe we could add on to what the other groups are doing as well. But I wouldn't want to encroach on anybody else's space if they've been taking care of things for
But
for
Jeannie, if the
years.
chamber doesn't want to do the Ragamuffin Parade, then they shouldn't be in charge of it.
Well, exactly, but we didn't even know about that because they didn't communicate that to us.
Well, they basically punted. They didn't call anybody. They didn't ask anybody about it.
Exactly, until we reached out to them, nobody knew what was going on.
I think Jesse's got a good idea. I think getting people who really have a vested interest, I mean, which the chamber doesn't have, having kids do trick-or-treating, they don't care or not, but the moms do and the kids do. And I think the businesses do. And
No, what I'm saying is, Roy, I wouldn't want to take over what they're saying, but I think there should be a better communication that if they decide they're not going to do something, then we could help it or take over or something like that. I wouldn't want to take things away from the chamber or from the school, because the school has their own parade on Friday before Halloween. I don't know if they did it though this year. I have the kids. Did they do it this year? Because somebody said they. Yeah, I know. I'm kind of out of that loop, but they did it. They've always done it. You know, it was 1:30 on Friday before Halloween. That was the big parade from. But I don't know. I think somehow everything with COVID and everything being canceled the last 2 years, it's taking a little while to get back up to speed. But that's all I'm saying. Not to take over, but yes, we do need better communication. So with that and with things that are being coordinated within the we had a hard time finding out about the Ragamuffin Parade, that it wasn't happening.
So basically, in summary, all I'm really asking for is essentially just to write a letter over to the chamber, maybe requesting a board seat or two, and then also putting together another group where we can provide them a very small budget for activations and events. I think we do have a little bit of money in our budget for either arts and culture or youth activities, just so that we have an extra group in there of motivated people. And we could, Robin, potentially you could be the trustee liaison, and I do a lot of the work with the youth and seniors. So I think you'd be great for that role. But I just want to make sure that for the next holiday, we have,
Things in place.
if there aren't nonprofits or other organizations putting things together, that the village can be at least helpful and to help facilitate that. So that was just the point I wanted to make here. I think that's it. Okay.
So would this letter be drafted by our attorney and informing them in the near future?
We could do something like that.
Because Christmas is around the corner.
Right. And I give Karen from the chamber a lot of credit. She has not a lot of funding, and it's a very tough job. They do a great job with with fireworks and other activities, but we'd like to help assist them in any way. So Andrew and I will work on,
I just received a text from Lieutenant Hertow, and she said the elementary school parade is at 2 p.m. Monday.
Oh, okay, so they are having, but
They
we
are
never
having- it's on
got that.
Halloween. Monday is Halloween.
Okay, all right, so there you go.
okay.
We'll have the parade, everybody be on Elm Street right after that at 3 when it's closed. Yeah.
All right, so we have our suggested resolutions, and then we have some walk-ons later. So Charlene, I'll let you take this for the suggested resolutions here.
Thank you, Mayor. Resolution number 1, resolve the claims for the warrant dated October 28th, 2022, totaling $545,699.16. Warrant A-16, General Fund, and $227,573.65. Warrant H6, Capital Fund, are audited and approved. Is there a motion?
Motion.
Second?
Second?
Quick discussion here. I've got a warrant in front of me from Vince Toomey's office, and there's a number of other expenditures. I didn't sign off on purchase orders for them, but I just want to say again, we really have to start reining in some of the expenditures, particularly with some of the consultants. There's no way we should have a bill of this size. When I first started, our bills from Vince Toomey's office were about $2,500 to $3,500 a month. Now they're $15,000 a month. We can't continue down this road. It is time to rein things in. I rarely speak to him, and so I'm not bringing up this bill here. So we really have to rein in the expenses, especially with some of the consultants. The other issue I have here is that I've got a warrant from Rue Engineers, and so they've done a great job for us, but we do have a commitment from the town CPF WQIP, and I guess my question for you, Charlene, is should we wait on these until we get a grant? Because I know there's a grant coming for some work we're doing on Old Town.
Rue is from a water quality approved project. Is that for $970?
And there's another one for $7,140.65. The question is, I don't know if we're allowed to wait on this until a grant comes in, because we might be, or can we get reimbursed by the CPF?
So I believe that the one that's for $970 is a water quality project. I believe that might be a grant. It's because it's paid for through the capital. The other one is, let me see what I have here.
There was, they were doing a
I don't have a
study.
RU on the warrant for this of $7,000.
It's not on this warrant?
I don't have it on this warrant. What's the?
I've got one for right here.
What's the date on it?
The date is the
10/21.
10/21 or 28. I can't tell, but this may be a sediment sampling of the bottom of Old Town.
Oh, yeah, that's here. That's another, yeah, that's Old Town.
So we will get some money after our presentations to the WQIP, so I don't know if we were to pay this today, if that would still qualify for grant funding, so I don't know.
I was under the impression from Jen that the water quality projects that were getting funded by CPF, we were allowed to expend in advance, because we did with the sewer district engineering. We actually expended that money and then were approved for the grant and we were reimbursed for it.
Okay. Just wanted to make sure
Some grants, some of the state grants and the county grants do not allow you to expend funds before the contract is awarded and approved, but the town CPF funds, they do, because we did receive a reimbursement after the fact for the DB engineering cost of $80,000.
Okay, excellent. Okay, just want to make sure we've done a good job seeking out and getting rewarded with a lot of water quality grant money from the town and county and state, so we want to make sure we're putting that to work. So that's all I have here. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Resolution number 2, resolved that the reading of the minutes for the public sessions of October 13th is dispensed, and the minutes are accepted as filed by the village clerk, and the actions taken at the meeting are hereby ratified and approved. Is there a motion?
Motion.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Resolution number 3, the Board of Trustees of the Incorporated Village of Southampton hereby approves Local Law 21-2022, the proposal to amend Village Code, Chapter 110, Section 110-43, Schedule L, stopping, standing, and parking restrictions specifically on Elm Street. Is there a motion?
Motion.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Resolution number 4, resolved that the Board of Trustees hereby approves the equal allocation of the funds received in the Community Development Block Grant for the to the Southampton Daycare Center and Heart of the Hamptons, and authorizes the mayor or designee to execute any documents that may be required to receive such funds. Is there a motion?
Motion.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Resolution number 5, Board of Trustees hereby approved the renewal agreement between the Town of Southampton and the Village of Southampton for the implementation of CTV services for broadcasting of village board meetings on December 10th, 2020, is hereby amended to read, resolved that the Board of Trustees approves the village administrator to sign the renewal agreement between the Town of Southampton and the Village of Southampton for the implementation, thank you, of CTV services. Is there a motion?
Motion.
Second?
Second.
Quick discussion. Just want to know which trustee added this and what's this about? I mean, I know what it's about, but I have a couple comments.
I think we have a contract with CTV, which was a joint contract with the town, and the town has repeatedly asked us to uphold our end of the agreement.
It
And
was
so-
actually approved by the board in December of 2020, but the
2020.
contract has never been signed.
So we have to sign the contract.
So you added this to the agenda?
I spoke to Charlene about it because she said that there was a problem with the town, that we had not signed this agreement, and I said, well, we need to sign it. It has to be signed.
So I'll tell you the genesis here. I spoke with Frank Sapone yesterday to try to negotiate what's best for the village. And one project that I really would like to roll out was CTV, and I just want to make sure that when we sign this contract, the funds that we expend to contribute to CTV will be included in that project. And the project that I'm trying to roll out here is, the other day I went to the high school and I went to a veterans event, and we had the street naming for John Holden. We've obviously do a lot to try to really support our veterans here. And, you know, each event you go to, you realize that we continue, unfortunately, to lose generations of really important, well-loved veterans. And I wanted to roll out essentially a documentary or interview series interviewing our veterans, and obviously I would like to get that on CTV. So what I want to make sure is that when we have a contract for tens of thousands of dollars going over to CTV to help subsidize the town's television, that we at least can get special programming like interviewing and documenting the great work that our veterans are doing. That's a program that I'm working on, for example, and I'm not sure there's a carve-out for that here. So that's why I asked, which trustee added this to the
There
agenda.
there actually is. When I originally negotiated the contract with Supervisor Schneiderman, we were paying a reimbursement, and this is a flat fee. And the flat fee per year allows the village to submit programming to the second channel that is now, I think it's called the Sunrise Channel or
Sunday,
something.
yeah.
And that's what Supervisor Schneiderman had said, that, if the mayor wanted to have a weekly talk show or any of the other board members wanted to have some type of programming, all we would need to do is, speak to the programming director there, and that's why the amount was changed from a reimbursement, which was actually costing us almost the same amount, and expanding to the flat amount over the period of the contract, so that we would be able to access the second channel and have programming there, and that's probably exactly where this type of program would be, and that's included in the contract.
I just want to make sure that when we go, and I'm working with Charles every week on this, that we don't get another bill from the town for his services. So that's why I said I wanted to make sure it was included before, obviously, the
Right.
board members went ahead and executed this contract really without me.
Well, Jesse, if this contract was entered into in 2020 and it has never been signed, it's 2 years that this has been waiting for a signature. It is not right for the village to be in that type of position for 2 years. It is the responsibility of this board to make sure that we are fulfilling our obligations that have already been made prior to my time on this board. Charlene brought this to my attention because there's an issue with the town. It needs to be done. That you've just heard the assurance from Charlene that the contract allows for extra time on CTV. This should be fine.
Allow that, though.
Jesse, you cannot go back and renegotiate a contract that was made 2 years ago. That boat has sailed. We need to fulfill our obligation and sign the contract. Do any of the other board members disagree with that?
No.
Robin?
I didn't read the contract, to be perfectly
Roy, do you
honest.
disagree, though? That
I haven't seen the contract, this is news to me, so I can't comment on it.
This is from, I remember this from 2 years ago.
I
We
wasn't here
passed the
2 years
resolution.
ago.
Nor was I.
So neither, yeah.
The one that's in the packet is not the current one. That's the original contract that was attached to the agenda.
Okay.
So what's been happening for the last 2 years?
They've continued to broadcast and we haven't paid them.
Right, and they're gonna stop. if
They've
we
said
don't.
they're gonna pull us off the air if we do not sign this contract. And the town is upset because we entered the agreement with the
With them.
town. And we are not upholding our end of the bargain. That is,
I haven't heard that from Frank Sapone or Jay Schneiderman, and I speak to them.
Charlene, was
every
that
week.
correct?
Well, the original conversation that I had was that the contract was supposed to be in place. We were supposed to be paying for the broadcasting, and we haven't been doing that, and they're continuing to broadcast it. So,
Do you think it's right, Jesse, that we don't sign a contract that we agreed, or the board at the time in 2020 agreed to? And that's a yes or no question, Jesse.
It's important.
You agree that you don't think you should sign something that this board duly authorized 2 years ago?
I do have the ability to negotiate that as part of my roles and
But
responsibilities.
it was what was the agreement in 2020, Charlene? Was it an agreement that this contract was to go forward?
yes.
So then I don't understand how you just then decide you're not gonna
Listen,
sign.
the point being is, I'm happy to move forward, but I just want to make sure that the program that we're rolling out for the veterans, which is not part of this contract, is included in the contract. That is all I'm asking.
Okay, I understand that you have
That is
something
it.
that you'd like to do, but the thing is, again, it is not good practice for the village board to enter into a contract and have that then not signed for 2 years. It's just, that is not the way the village should be operating, Jesse. Anyway, that's all I have to say.
How much are we gonna have to start paying them?
It's like 25,000 a year, and then there's a 2% escalator.
And sorry for being dumb, but they're not here tonight. What's being broadcast? What are
These
we
meetings,
benefiting
they
from this?
broadcast the
On
meetings.
Channel
they-
22,
on
you can
tw-
watch the
22.
meeting. On Channel 22 on cable TV for folks that don't,
Meeting that you have is for.
planning board.
Yeah, planning board,
ARB.
ARB.
It's
And many
broadcast.
people.
If you suffer insomnia, you might
So
watch
it's
some of them.
6 feet from here,
Because
puts
that'll
it
make
on
you go to
television?
sleep.
Yeah.
Okay.
But a lot of people.
He's the guy that does it right
He's
there.
the one who does it.
Charles, you're in charge, right?
But, Roy, a lot of
Okay, I
people, we need to be on.
And Charles,
they
what's
are-
the
we are on
process
TV.
for getting a program on the other channel?
Submitted.
It just has to be submitted, right?
So you can submit whatever you want, Mayor.
We can, and I've worked very closely with LTV as well.
You know something, I might be speaking out of turn, but
Come to the
You
mic,
gotta
Charles.
come
Come
to
to
the
the
mic,
mic, Charles.
there's no reason why I wouldn't put this on my station. I mean, I'm the guy who puts it on.
Yeah, I just want some reassurances from the town that they're not gonna, if we're over, want to use the station, that they're not gonna, that it doesn't actually say in the contract that we can have that. So that's my one call out here, which is why I wanted to continue negotiating. But if the board obviously wants to, obviously compel myself or the village administrator to sign it, that's fine,
Okay, Charlene,
It's
one
really a
more,
non-issue.
no, it is an issue, Jesse, because I don't understand. Did this board duly enter into a contract in 2020?
Yeah, there was a
Yes.
resolution.
So at
I
that
voted
point,
on
Jesse,
that.
you cannot renegotiate the contract. You are obligated to sign that contract. It was approved by the village board 2 years ago. So I don't understand why you're trying to renegotiate something 2 years after a contract was entered into. You're a businessman, you know the way it works. You don't get to renegotiate a contract 2 years later. So I'm just trying to clean up this and have it signed so that it is fully in place. When does the contract expire?
Oh, it expired in 2020.
It already expired.
So it expired.
2021, actually.
So last year it expired.
Mhm.
So I just don't understand how if this board entered into something, Jesse, we refuse to sign the contract. I just don't understand that.
Okay.
What's the point of signing a contract that's already expired? I mean, don't we need a new contract?
No,
It's
this
already
is the new
expired?
contract that the
Oh.
board approved in 2020. In
Ah.
December of 2020, there was a resolution, the contract was
And when
submitted.
does that expire?
This expires in 2026.
So
Yeah, I
It's a
think
long,
it's-
long
From
contract.
2022 to
Five
2026.
5-year contract, 5-year contract,
Mhm.
right?
Again, the question is, did this board duly authorize this contract?
Yes, there was a resolution that
Yes.
was approved in on December 10th, I think it says here,
Yes.
of
So
2020.
the board at that time, Jesse, I was not on the board at that time. The board at that time, was it a 5-0 vote?
I believe it was. I'd have to refer to the clerk and go to the minutes on that.
Well,
But it was approved.
it was approved. So Jesse, the contract has been approved. That's all that should need to be asked or questioned.
And it can be rescinded, but again, this is really a very small topic amongst much larger expenditures and things that we have to do here. So I'm fine with the board taking a vote and proceeding as it sees fit. You know, that's the Board of Trustees' responsibility
That's
to
right.
control the finances
That's
of the
right,
village.
to sign.
So it's my job to negotiate, but,
Can I just ask Andrew a question? So the board approved the contract, but the contract was never signed. What is the status of the contract then? I mean, is the board, if the mayor doesn't sign the contract, what happens to the contract, even if the board approves it? I mean,
I haven't seen the resolution,
Mhm.
so the language of the resolution could change the answer to that question.
Can you ask Kathy to
If the
pull it?
resolution were to authorize the mayor to
Please.
sign the contract, then the signing is a ministerial act.
Yes, that's what,
And the
I believe
contract.
that's what this language was changing because the board wanted the contract signed and directed me to sign it.
But I haven't seen that resolution, so I can't answer.
all right.
Can you ask
All in
Kathy,
favor?
or is it- Yeah. In the meantime, she
Yeah.
can pull it. Thank you. All in favor? I'm sorry.
It's fine.
Interrupted.
Aye, I think the
Aye.
contract should be signed.
I'd have to abstain. I don't understand it, and I think there's too many questions about it.
Well, why don't
So we need a
just-
roll call?
Why don't you just table it for next week, since that way it can be, for the next meeting, so it can be clear.
Can we just hold
We
this
can table
until
it.
she perhaps Kathy can pull
So is there a
the,
motion to table till the next meeting?
No, I'd like, maybe we could table it to we could ask Kathy to pull the resolution, so we could clarify this. I'd rather not drag it out. This has been dragged out for almost 2 years now.
Okay,
It's
so
embarrassing.
we'll make
Why
a
don't we
rec-
just table this? We can do it next meeting. At that point, I'll have enough time to talk to Frank Sapone about the program I want to roll out.
Let's just go through the rest of this meeting and we'll come back to it.
Okay, so we're going to make a motion to table at this point.
Correct.
Second?
Second.
All in favor of tabling the resolution?
Aye.
Resolution number 6, the Board of Trustees approves the request to waive any fees related to applications of the Board of Architectural Review, Historic Preservation, Zoning Board of Appeals, Planning Board, or Building Department of the Village of Southampton as they relate to 44 Meeting House Lane, New York, Southampton, New York. Heart of the Hamptons is a registered 501c3 organization, and the subject building is owned by the Village of Southampton. Is there a motion?
Motion.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Resolution number 7, the Board of Trustees authorizes the mayor or designee to sign an agreement between the Village of Southampton and Harry L. Weed II, who will provide consulting services to the acting superintendent of Public Works. Said services to the village shall, 1, be billed at a rate not to exceed $150 an hour, 2, shall not exceed $25,000 in total, and 3, shall terminate 90 days after the execution of same. Is there a motion?
Motion.
Second?
Discussion. Can this contract be extended?
Yes.
That would be a question for council?
Yes.
Yeah.
It can be extended. So it says shall terminate 90 days after execution. Should we put in something that, or upon renewal or something like that?
It could be extended, well, it can only be extended if Mr. Reed wants to extend it
Correct.
first. And,
But we have that
and an
opportunity.
extension would be by another board resolution.
Okay, this is not negating that by simply stating that it shall terminate 90 days.
No, if the board,
Okay,
if the
okay.
board issues another resolution to extend the
all
term.
right, all right,
it may.
understood. Okay, thank you.
And he's also agreeable to that.
Okay, good.
So,
Just so everyone on the board knows, I think everyone, I don't know if everyone has a chance to have met Harry Weed. I was able to connect with Harry through my friends over at NICOM. He runs their Public Works Conference, and he's has the reputation of being a fixer. He's worked in a number of municipalities, including the town of North Hempstead, and he teaches the course up at the NICOM Public Works Conference, so I've been trying to recruit him for at least 6 months now. The only thing I will say is that when I spoke to him, he wasn't asking me for $150 an hour. Maybe that's increased. I would prefer closer to 100, but if the board wants to proceed at 150, I mean, it's up to the board.
Did you make the motion already?
I made the motion, that's correct, but.
Okay, and this is what we agreed with Mr. Reed, there was, with Harry. So, I wasn't part of the negotiations, but I know about the negotiations, and we did this, and you were agreeable when we spoke about this.
Not to 150 an hour, because that could run out pretty quickly. We're gonna need to use him a lot. I mean, he's gonna be here numerous days out of the week, so we're capped at $25,000. That's gonna run out pretty quickly.
The contract is renewable. He's gonna have a set of, which we discussed already. I don't even know if we should be discussing this in public.
no.
No,
No.
okay, so if you wanna bring that to executive session, we'll discuss it then.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Resolution number 8, resolve the Board of Trustees directs the Finance Department to make the following budget modification from line A 1410.1, village clerk salaries in the amount of $38,685.45 to budget line A 1410.4, village clerk contractual services in the amount of $38,685.45. Just as a note, this is, we have converted from having in-house, as everyone knows, Kat Styler took the transfer to the vacant position in the Highway Department, and now we have Charles. So, and he's a contractor, so we're taking the remaining amount of her salary out to cover the contractual for Charles for his contract. So, do we have a motion?
Motion.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Resolution number 9. You can still work, Charles, that's good. Resolution number 9. Resolve the Board of Trustees approves the hourly rate increase for Diane Greger, part-time employee in the Building Department, from a rate of $49.50 per hour to $54.45 per hour, a 10% increase effective October 29th, 2022. Is there a motion?
Motion.
Second?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Resolution number 10, the Board of Trustees approves the stipulation of settlement agreement that was signed between Michael Wilds and the Village of Southampton, for which Michael Wilds signed the said agreement on October 24th, 2022, and has submitted a resignation as Maintenance Mechanic 3 to the Building Department effective October 24th, 2022. Is there a motion?
Motion.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Resolution number 11, resolve the Board of Trustees approves the amendment of the Southampton Village Volunteer Ambulance Bylaws, Section 1, proxy for absentee ballots. Is there a motion?
Motion.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Resolution number 12, the Board of Trustees approves the request received from Alfred Callahan, Chief of the Southampton Fire Department, regarding the correction of Don King's retirement benefit. The benefit is to be accrued $760, reflecting credit changed from the 3 years of $20 per benefit between the years 1997 to 1999, for 3 years of $30 per benefit for 2019 to 2021, resulting in $760. Is there a motion?
Motion.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Resolved that the Board of Trustees approves the following holiday schedule for 2023, where Village Hall offices will be closed. Martin Luther King Day, Monday, January 16th. President's Day, Monday, February 20th, Memorial Day, Monday, May 29th, Juneteenth, Monday, June 19th, Independence Day, Tuesday, July 4th, Labor Day, Monday, September 4th, Columbus Day, Monday, October 9th, Veterans Day, Friday, November 10th, Thanksgiving Day, Thursday, November 23rd, Day after Thanksgiving, Friday, November 24th, half a day for Christmas Eve, closing at 12 o'clock, Friday, December 22nd, Christmas Day, Monday, December 25th, one half day closure at 12 o'clock for New Year's Eve, Friday, December 29th, and New Year's Day observed Monday, January 1st, 2024. Is there a motion?
Motion.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Resolution number 14, resolve the Board of Trustees approves the closing of Elm Street on Monday, October 31st, 2022 by the Southampton Village Police Department for Halloween festivities between the hours of 3 and 7 p.m. Is there a motion?
Motion.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Resolution number 15, the Board of Trustees approves the request from the Commission of Veterans Patriotic Events to hold a Veterans Day Parade on Friday, November 11th, 2022 at 11 a.m. The service will follow immediately at Agawam Park. All village officials are invited to participate. Is there a motion?
Motion.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Resolution number 16, the Board of Trustees approves the Heart of the Hamptons to host their annual Polar Bear Plunge on Saturday, December 10th, 2022, from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. Southampton Village Employee Services from Parks, Building Maintenance, Ambulance, and Police Department will be needed in the hours from 8 a.m. to 12 p.m. at Cooper's Beach. Is there a motion?
Motion.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Resolution number 17, the Board of Trustees of the Incorporated Village of Southampton authorize the village clerk to publish a notice of public hearing to be held Thursday, November 10th, 2022 at 6 p.m. as a hybrid in-person / Zoom meeting regarding local law 22-2022, the proposal to amend Village Code, Chapter 110, Section 110-39, Schedule H, speed regulations, specifically Hill Street, is amended as follows. Resolved that the Board of Trustees for the Board of Incorporated Village of Southampton authorize the village clerk to publish a notice of public hearing to be held on Thursday, November 10th, 2022 at 6 p.m. For local law 22-2022, the proposal to amend Village Code Section 110-15, speed regulations, and 110-39, Schedule H, speed regulations, Section B. Is there a motion?
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? I do have a walk-on agenda of 3 resolutions that were proposed today. One was a personnel matter, and the other 2 were suggested by Trustee Manga.
I don't know what they were. You have to remind me.
The pilot program, Lee Avenue.
Oh, yes, yes,
And
yes.
43 Hill Street,
Yes.
there's a lease. Okay, so do we have a motion to walk on 3 additional resolutions?
Motion.
Second?
I actually would like to walk on that 4th one we discussed today, but Alex Wallach,
Okay,
just to
Can-
ask him to do further study. So maybe we can amend that motion to allow for 4 walk-on resolutions, including 1 resolution
okay.
for the Board of Trustees directing Alex Wallach, Director of Planning, to do further study regarding workforce housing in the Village Office District and the Hampton Road Office District. That's what the resolution, per our comprehensive master plan. That's what the,
Okay, could we discuss that?
Can we discuss
and-
that first?
Yeah, and maybe an executive session, I think, actually.
I don't know if there's executive session tonight, and
There is.
discussing a resolution is a public,
No, but
Discussion.
not if we have to discuss with council. Am I correct there, Andrew?
If you're asking for advice of counsel, then it's appropriate to go into executive session.
Yeah.
but you can't discuss whether or not you want to actually have this resolution on the agenda. That's public discussion.
Okay, well, yeah, I don't think I want to discuss that one tonight.
The resolution is just simply, the Board of Trustees directs Alex Wallach, the Southampton Village Director of Planning, to conduct further study on workforce housing in our Hampton Road Office District, as well as our Village Office District, per our comprehensive master plan. We're just asking Alex Wallach to do some further study. That's it.
I would rather discuss that first before we walk that on as a resolution. I'm not ready to, I don't have a,
I mean, I could actually also just ask him without the resolution, but it'd be nice to obviously have some collective unity here to say that we are committed to workforce housing in the village per our comprehensive master plan.
I would like to have further discussion on it.
Is there any reason why you'd be opposed to
Yeah, but I
adding a
don't-
simple
yeah.
resolution asking our planner to do some further study?
I'd rather have a discussion first, including council about it.
But if we were to discuss as a board, it does have to be done in public session. We can't go to executive session to discuss studying our comprehensive master plan.
What I would like to know about it involves council, and I think that would be more appropriate for executive session. So I would not be ready to support something like that.
Okay, any other comments from the board?
Well, you can have a discussion and then bring it back up after your discussion after executive session, just so you still have it tonight.
Mm-hmm.
All right. But again, I want to be clear with the board that we cannot discuss the public business of the village in executive session.
We can only discuss when we have questions of council. Is that correct, Andrew?
If the board has a question for council about potential litigation, that's a matter that's appropriate for executive session.
A similar topic came up with the zoning board of appeals. Southampton Press wrote a editorial saying that they should have done that in public session. So I don't want to have part two of that editorial.
Well,
but
we just
it
heard
is
from
what
our
it is.
attorney. I don't think Southampton Press consults their attorney before making statements like that.
Okay.
So, for the 3 items, can we have a second? A motion?
Second.
Do we have
Yeah.
a motion? You had a motion.
I'll
Give me the
motion.
okay.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, so on resolution number 1, resolved that William Miller will be suspended for 30 days without pay upon the delivery of disciplinary charges under Section 75 of the New York State Civil Service Law effective October 28th, and be it further resolved that the Board of Trustees appoints Eileen Powers, Esquire, as hearing officer to preside over the disciplinary hearing at a rate of $1,500 per diem, $275 per hour. Is there a motion?
Motion.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Resolution number 2, resolved that the Board of Trustees rescinds the pilot program to have no left turns on Lee Avenue and Captain's Neck Lane from 3 p.m. to 7 p.m., Monday through Friday, starting Monday, October 3rd. No right turns on Somerset Avenue during the same period of time. Is there a motion?
Motion.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Resolution number 3, resolved that the Board of Trustees of the Incorporated Village of Southampton authorize the mayor or his designee to enter into a signed contract with Southold Properties, which contract shall discharge obligations of both the village and Southold pursuant to the July 31st, 1980 agreement between the village and Southold related to the property located at 43 Hill Street within the village. Is there a motion?
Motion.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Discussion, can somebody tell me what this is?
So there was an agreement in 1980 that the village could use the parking lot behind the movie theater. Now that there's a sale pending, the owner would like that lease to terminate. And it was, I don't know what the word is. It was, you were able to terminate
We
it.
could use the parking if we maintained it, I think. is
Correct.
the agreement.
And so that we were able to, but both parties could terminate with 90 days' notice. But because of the fact that we haven't been maintaining it, they've asked if we would terminate it now prior to the closing.
Okay.
Okay. That was a good explanation, right?
I agree.
Yeah, okay.
Aye.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that concludes the resolution portion.
All right. I'd like to make a motion to adjourn the meeting. Is there a
Second.
second?
I thought we were going to executive session.
To
I don't know if there's any, I mean, if you,
But
I
we-
thought
we
we were
were-
gonna end the
but-
meeting
Well,
and.
we actually
and-
have Tom Markland to give a vote.
We, yeah,
Yeah,
Tom,
we have
we
Tom
have someone
Markland.
who's supposed to talk to us.
about the contract.
Yeah.
Sorry.
All right, I'll make a motion to adjourn to executive session for the purpose of discussing contractual, legal, and personnel matters.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
The time is 9:20 on Friday, October 28th. Definitely been here on a long Friday night. I'd like to make a motion to adjourn the meeting. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much and good evening.